33 consecutive games in the NFL. Bill Romanowski joining us now in the Morning Roast. Joe Spadoni, Joe Shasky. It's courtesy of River Islands. Bill, good morning. And we're just going to dive right into the conversation we were having prior to the break. And it was just hostile environments in sports, right? And I think a lot of Niner fans are, if they're traveling, they're saying like, okay, we got to prepare ourselves. It's Philadelphia, the fan base there. It's the Eagles. It's all of it. What venue or fan base did you love to go at the most come playoff time? And you embraced the hostility.
I mean, there were so many of them. You know, when I look back, I think about Pittsburgh when I was a Bronco, when I was at the 49ers, going to Dallas, it was hostile. This is what it's all about. This playoff football, it's all or nothing. So it's, but at the end of the day, the hostile environments don't matter. It's about showing up on Sunday, getting the job done, executing, not turning the ball over, flying around on defense. And it's been a heck of a year. I think what Kyle Shanahan has done with this 49er football team that has been decimated with injuries is amazing. And, I just think about you're only as good as your last game. The last game I felt like that score should have been 50-0. That's the game I saw. But the scoreboard showed it differently. Until the end, they still had an outside shot at the game, which was amazing to me. So I think it's going to be a great matchup. I think the 49ers are going to be ready. They're going to play hard. And it's now going to be about executing. It's what every game is about.
Bill, you look great, by the way. You're on the YouTube channel right now. You look glorious. You're smiling ear to ear. I want to know, when you watch that game Saturday, because I was sitting in the end zone, and just some of the angles that the safeties and the linebackers were taking for the Niners and the missed tackles over and over. Well, on the other side of the field, I mean, this young safety and these corners and these linebackers and the ferocious defense for Seattle, they didn't miss any tackles. I mean, they were incredible. How do you fix that? How do you fix that given the personnel that they have right now? Is that just on individuals? Is that on one of the leaders on the defense to talk to these guys? Is that on coaching? 18 missed tackles in that game for the Niners defense. That's why I'm so scared heading into Philly.
Yeah, it's, coaches coach and players play. It really comes down to that. Do you have the horses that can go out there and get it done? When you have injuries like the Niners have had, and they don't have their top players out on the field, that's what it comes down to. Because, you really can't teach tackling and angles and things like that. It's an instinct by great players. And when great players are out on the field, they go out there and they dominate, and and that's what you saw on the Seattle defensive side of the ball. But at the end of the day, this is a new game, and it's going to be a heck of a matchup. They're going up against a very talented football team, and I think the matchup that I see that we win as far as the 49ers, I think we have a better head coach. And can Kyle, pull a rabbit's tail out of his what and get these guys fired up, and can they do it? And, in the fact within last week's game where they actually kept that game close when they were completely dominated physically in that game.
Bill, I don't know. Did you get a chance to watch that John Elway doc that came out on Netflix?
I haven't seen it yet.
Well, they've got some clips of you on there, and you're making plays, and it was because John Elway was like, that's what I grew up with, and I try to tell the young guys he was just an unbelievable player. But not only did you play on one back-to-back team, the Niner team, but you did it as well with the Broncos. So from the Eagles' point of view, they're the defending champs, and their regular season has been kind of all over the place. So, walk me through that locker room and how they're feeling now, knowing that they won one last year, and I'm sure they've got self-belief heading into this one that, oh no, we're gonna right the ship in the playoffs, because I think this is a very dangerous team that has yet to play like the Eagles of last year.
You're right, and they are defending Super Bowl champs. And what happens when you're a Super Bowl champ? You get everybody's best shot. And if you handle it mentally, hey, it can make you even better. But it really hasn't done that. It's all kind of like, at times they showed flashes of that Super Bowl team, and other times it was, God, what is wrong with this football team? We've got all these talented football players, but why aren't they out there kicking what?
Why do you think that is?
Why aren't they? Yeah. It's, there's an energy and a momentum that happens. And I tell you what, I actually thought the Niners were going to play better against Seattle. I thought they literally had a chance, and it's because of the momentum they had that they've had the second half of the season. People talk about momentum, and it matters. Trust me, you want to be playing your best football at the end of the year. Hey, the Eagles sat a lot of their starters, their last game. So, the only thing I can reference to that is we had won our division. This is when I was in Denver. Mm-hmm. My first year in Denver, 96 season, we won our division, got home field advantage in the playoffs, and we kind of took it easy and weren't too worried about winning out. And to me, you gotta keep on that momentum. You got to keep making it happen. And, we ended up getting our butts kicked by the Jaguars, and they were a wild card team. So, like I said, we got two teams. You've got a team with the Eagles that are so much more talented than the 49ers. You could say there's no way that that these two teams should be playing in the play, or the 49ers should be playing the Eagles in the playoffs right now with what happened to their roster. But they're doing it, and any given day, the 49ers can show up with really good play.
Talking to Bill Romanowski here on the Morning Roast, courtesy of the River Islands guest line, 4-time Super Bowl champion. Obviously, you won Super Bowls with the 49ers. You mentioned with the Broncos. You played in a Super Bowl with the Raiders, and you're also a Philadelphia Eagle. Bill, do you have any Do you have any stories when it comes to you, Eagle fans, during a game, parking lot? Because they're obviously notorious for doing God knows what. Hell, Shasky over here knows. He went to the NFC Championship game a couple of years ago.
My memories with the Eagles at the end of the day, I think the only thing that stands out to me is, I get traded to the Eagles and we come back to Candlestick and play the Niners, and we run all over them. And then what did the Niners do? That was like a wake-up call for them. And they go on to win the Super Bowl. And, I'm sitting at home watching it and not feeling too good about it, tell you the truth.
Now, they took Ray Rhodes, right, the Eagles right after that, and Ricky Waters.
The next year.
Yeah,
correct.
and Ricky Waters went there. And, you know, I always tell people, like, dude, Ricky was so good. Like, he was an unbelievable pass catcher and runner. I mean, I think he had 13,000 scrimmage yards, but he's most famous in Philly for the whole, you know, for who, for what on the drop pass. I mean, was that fair? How'd that play in the locker room? Because Eagle fans to this day bash him for that.
Oh, you know what? I actually talked to Ricky after that happened. I'm like, Ricky, you're a pro. You're getting paid, you know, millions of dollars to go out there and make plays and make it happen. And when you do something like that, you may lose, you know, every time you walk out on the field, your own team might be booing you, not the opposing team. You know, that's what you'll get in Philadelphia. And I think he got a bunch of that, and you know, never really, you know, came back from that. I truly believe that.
What do you think of Jalen Hurts? He has been getting scrutinized a lot. Big game player, going back to college. What's your whole feel on him as a quarterback, as a player?
Well, I think last year he put it together, and he put it together at the right time, and the magic happened. Right now this year, I'm not seeing the magic happen, you know, and you know that's execution. It's so many things that go in because you have, you know, 52 guys that show up out on that field on Sunday, and they're all relying on you. They're all relying on that quarterback to lead them, to make plays, to create the momentum like we've been talking about this whole interview. And, you know, and when you have that consistency, that's what creates dynasties. And, you know, you can have a one-off year or a great game, but creating that game in and game out for years makes you a legend. Right now, he's an amazing talent that doesn't show up with amazing talent every single week.
Talking to Bill Romanowski here on the Morning Roast ahead of Niners Eagles this Sunday, West Coast time, 1:30 at Philadelphia. And you said earlier, Romo, you know, you take Kyle Shanahan over Nick Sirianni in this coaching matchup this week. And why do you say that? Because I think a lot of people are saying, hey, these are two head coaches that have been to 2 Super Bowls, but Sirianni is obviously the guy that won one.
You're right. You're right. But, you know, I just look at what Kyle has done this year with this football team that is, you know, like I said earlier, has been decimated with injuries, and they still show up. They play hard for him. At the end of the day, the ultimate leader for a football team is your head coach. And, you know, do your guys show up week in and week out for you? Yeah, you know, come Sunday out on the field, your quarterback is your leader, you know. But Kyle has done that, and he's shown that he can make magic happen with sub-level talent at times. And you know, the key to me is, you know, I believe Brock's going to play his butt off. You know, how is Christian McCaffrey? Are they going to be able to run the ball against this, you know, Eagles defense? And if they can run the ball and keep Jalen on the sideline at times, I think that's the key to this football game. But it's also the key to the Eagles. You know, they need to establish a running game also. You know, Barkley's got to have, you know, 20, 25 touches in this game. I believe Christian McCaffrey needs to have 30 touches in this game to give them a chance.
Bill, I want your opinion on this. There's a lot been made right now, just the injury history of the 49ers this year, the last couple of years. And we've asked we asked Jerry Rice this question. We've asked Steve Young this question. I want your opinion because you're somebody that obviously your body was your temple.
Yes.
What's going on in the league right now? I mean, they don't hit in practice, it feels like they used to. There's obviously a limit on the amount of practice time in the offseason. Guys are specializing, and they're finely tuned, but it just feels like the soft tissue injuries are through the roof. What's your hypothesis, your theory on what's going on with all these injuries in the league?
Well, I always look at if a football team, and we'll just talk 49ers, not the rest of the league. 49ers, what do you look at? To me, you look at the weight room. You look at what are these guys doing for recovery during the week collectively as a group. I always had a team behind me, not necessarily I had what was going on in the facility, but I had my own massage therapist. I had my own chiropractor. I had specialists that stretched me every day. So to me, you look at that, and then you look at what goes on in the weight room day in and day out.
I love that. I'm watching some of these old clips, and we were going down the rabbit hole a couple weeks back, and the young guys here, they never saw Mark Bavaro play. Okay, now I'm going New York Giants here, and I tried to explain to these guys, you can't look at the stats. No one threw the ball in the 80s the way they do now, and he was like a Frankenstein over the middle. Can you explain to the young, because is he the hardest guy to tackle in your career? Is there another guy? Because I was trying to explain, this guy would inflict punishment on people over the middle. The game's just not the same anymore. Yep. It's not played the same.
It was with Phil Simms we were talking with. Phil Simms was telling us,
Yeah, you're right. I used to line up against him, and I used to be like, what the heck am I going to do? Am I going to try to swim him, make him miss, when he comes out to block me, because his arms were probably the size of my thighs. And, and then, he was a great receiver. He was a guy that had the whole package. He wasn't just a blocker and not just a receiver. He had the whole package. There aren't a lot of those type of guys out there, and then I got to play with him in Philadelphia, and I was like, even in training camp, I'm like, God, please help me on this one. We're in two-a-days, and we're in a 9-on-7 drill, and this guy just comes out and grabs you like that, and you're like, okay, I'm done on this play. This play's over for me, And then what I try to do is I'd try to just hit him with my head, strike him, to where he couldn't get his hands on me. And that seemed to work for a little while before he caught on.
Was he the biggest freak that you went up against?
There was a guy in Pittsburgh that I played against that he had the same kind of strength, Mark Bruner, but he didn't have the ability to be a receiver like Bavaro did. But Mark Bruner was the best blocking tight end I ever played against.
That's what makes George Kittle, That's what makes George Kittle so special for 49er fans, Romo. It's because, you see the Travis Kelce's, and he might retire, but he's more of like a receiving tight end, not as much as a blocker. Yeah. That's why I love Gronk so much, too. Gronk was the ultimate package for me, just like Kittle and just like Bavaro you're talking about. They just don't make him like that anymore.
Yeah, a lot of guys, it's like when I was at the Broncos, played with Shannon Sharp. Hey, he's a Hall of Famer. But I tell you what, he couldn't block my grandmother. I mean, that's just reality.
Is he ever going to invite you on his podcast or what?
Probably not. He's still sore. He's still sore when I was a Raider and we played against him, and I was covering him on a 7 route.
Yeah.
And I hooked his elbow and landed perfectly on it when it went to the ground, and it dislocated. And he thinks I did that on purpose. Yeah, like I have the ability to literally not only try to cover you, but then land on your elbow at a certain angle to dislocate it. Come on.
Hey, so
guys.
Okay, one last one. If the Niners pull this one off, I think of some of the great road victories in Niner history. The NFC Championship game against the Bears that you were a part of is probably one of the great road wins of all time for the Niners, right?
Yes.
So, I mean,
absolutely.
This is maybe not on that level. This would be a big accomplishment. Can they do it? Can they knock them off?
I think they can. Games always come down to, do you want, what you don't want to have is 3rd and long against the Eagles defense. And what happens then? What you got to do is Christian McCaffrey, 2-3 yards at a time. It doesn't have to be a breakout run, but making it 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 6, that changes the play calling for Kyle. And I think that's going to be the key. And then it usually comes down to turnovers. You got to win on 3rd down, and you don't turn the ball over, and you'll be in the game. And then let's see what happens. Whoever has the ball last probably will have a chance to win the football game.
Hey, Romo, great stuff this morning. We appreciate your time. We could do this for the rest of the show if you would let us. But
you are the man.
Good stuff, and hopefully we're talking about Niners win next week, man.
Hey, I look forward to it. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
There he goes. That's Bill Romanowski, courtesy of the